Greetings and welcome back to another lore reading video, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed the slight break for a little bit. I know, at least for right now, in terms of Destiny gameplay, I am not grinding as hard as I was. I hit 400 power, and the 400 to 450 grind is much more of just like a casual grind for me if I feel like playing Destiny. Because we've done pretty much everything else, I definitely need to do more runs of the raid. I need to go through of pretty much everything that's gone through pipeline. I'm ready for, heavy metal to come through, get the new sword coming Tuesday, but at least for now, having a little break is definitely going to be helpful. I say a break, but I'm also totally going to be playing Destiny Rising here in a bit for everything, possibly on stream. We'll just kind of see how I feel about it, see if I want to play it in the long run for everything there. But today, we're getting back into the pages of the game. We're looking at a specific page that's really, I believe, our hint into what's coming here in just a short time with Renegades later on in September. Of course, I am superbly excited. I will tell you my stance on this whole debacle between people online who say, I'm here to play Destiny, I'm not here to play Star Wars. Number one, I love Star Wars probably more than I love Destiny, and the fact that these two things are melding together into a Star Wars inspired story, and I'm going to be able to get a lightsaber and a blaster pistol and all sorts of cool gear to go along with it, I'm excited. I know I have the trust in Bungie and PlayStation to do well in the inspiration and not just rip stuff from Star Wars or throw us into a Star Wars world, because even Bungie themselves have said it's going to be still a very Destiny story with Destiny characters, and that's why we're going to go over this. This definitely seems to be our hint. Obviously, we will also tie it into one unfortunate leak that they left on the website, but I think it's a very important leak and hint into what we should expect coming up. And of course, it connects to one of our favorite characters on the channel that we always talk about. So let's get into it. The page we're looking at today is the 4th page in the lore book, labeled As Without. I still believe, as long as I'm still on track, because it's been a long time, it's been a couple months since I went through and did everything, but I'm pretty sure the As Without book only comes from completing all of the side quests on Kepler, and these are, of course, extra little pages. The 4th page is called Treacherous Contacts, and the reason that I believe that this is important is because it shows almost a definitive hint to what we should expect with Renegades, in my opinion, and I'll explain that as we go on, but also it helps understand that everything that I discussed in the video that I'll pop up on screen right now in the corner, where the city has been falling apart with Ikora's leadership. She has promised them that they would have representation within the tower after the big bads are gone, the immediate threats are gone. That has not happened up until this point, and of course the city seems to be falling apart and really, really, really turning on Ikora. I've also discussed my fears with what might happen, leaving Earth and leaving the Sol system and leaving Zavala to lead on his own, but that is for a thing that may come up and happen. So, first things first, let's read the page and let's go ahead and discuss the details. Treacherous Contacts. Cormorant level encrypted message follows. Naturally, the Praxic Order is concerned with the proliferation of reality-altering technology, but the Order's mandate is not the protection of the city or even humanity. It's to combat the agents of darkness. Until the Vex fall within those parameters, the Order respectfully declines. Sorry, Ikora. I tried. Cormorant level encrypted message follows. Normally, I wouldn't get out of bed to track Cabal activity, but the Hidden are reporting a new sect at work on Mars. Their livery and weapons are fresh, and they're doing brisk trade with the local gangs. Not within our purview, I know, but it bears watching. Cormorant level encrypted message follows. According to Omar St. Croix, this new faction of Cabal are big players in the Martian arms trade. They have guns and armor for sale beyond the usual refurbished Red Legion junk. Someone out there with real manufacturing clout is behind them. To what end? I'm not sure yet. I know the Martian Cabal isn't a sanctioned target, but mark my words, it's only a matter of time. Nobody stockpiles this much gear without hedging against Guardian interference. They'll want paracausal weapons sooner than later. And by the time we see them in the field, it'll be too late. I told you it was only a matter of time before this new Cabal faction went after paracausal weapons, and here we are. A hit squad wearing their livery mugged Xur in the Winding Cove, chased him until all the Guardians left, then gave him the good old Dark Age stick-up. Here's the inventory of everything stolen from Xur. Bad Juju, Malfeasance, Ruinous Effigy, Flight Records. Left all the strange coins, glimmer, and standard gear. Clearly knew what they were after. This won't be their last attempt to secure advanced weaponry. After reviewing the Xur case file, something sticks out. The flight data. They didn't just want the weapons, they wanted to know where he got them. They wanted his contacts. Looking back, that might have been the real target all along. Looks like I was right about the flight records being the real target of Xur's stick-up. Intercepted comms from an unidentified Cabal ship included references, Xur's domain, and eternity. The message repeats 9 times. Somebody's trying to make contact. I think the Renegade Cabal are making headway. Our undercovers on Mars report their lieutenants out trading for samples of periodic tables, most of them benign: tungsten, iodine, ytterbium, neodymium, the list goes on. And not in quantities useful for manufacturing either. Something's up. I put feelers out with the fallen mob in Tharsis. Rumor is the Cabal have their Scion engineers building a cipher device using periodic elements as its key. Not the words for the elements, but the elements themselves. They have to be getting outside help, and I mean way outside. The hidden listening post on Mars reports a spike in local comms traffic. Whatever the Cabal were hoping to gain from Xur's flight records and their elemental cipher, it seems to have worked. We still don't know who's backing the Martian faction, but they've got big plans. Our agents have been making indirect inquiries to the other gangs in Tharsis. Word is the Cabal are looking for the Drifter, and more specifically, the Derelict. I get the feeling Drifter stepped in something rancid, and he's about to track it all over our carpet. Where is that scumbag? So, a lot to unpack there, but I'll do it as quickly as simple as Number one, obviously with things going on Mars, we've already been given hints and shown that Renegades is going to take place on Mars with all of advertisement graphics, the marketing graphics, and kind of trailer. We definitely assume it would be on Mars with its very barren, landscape. But of course, to get it out of the way, yes, we did also have the leak that was left up on the website that shouldn't have been, where we were told that we would be going to Mars to intercept a up-and-coming dredgen. Now, this is extremely important because, again, one of our favorite characters on the channel is Drifter, and we know that Drifter was part of the Dredgens of yore. So the followers of Dredgen yore and kind of the dark guardians that have existed within the lore, and he went by Dredgen Hope back whenever he was following yore and performing duties there. So their interest in Drifter is definitely warranted, but I also want to go far back as to some of Drifter's quests. There is still an individual out there we know that has been hunting Drifter ever since he stopped becoming a Dredgen. He constantly tells people that he doesn't go by that name anymore, and he's very, very persistent that he does not want to be called that. He even told the emissary, because Orin found out that he was Dredgen Hope, and that's why she left to find the 9. He lied and didn't. Now, when Drifter gave us the quest for getting Malfeasance, we ended up going through the entire quest line to go through and actually find a guardian friend of Drifter's who had been golden gunned to death. Now, the assumption is that this individual that's been hunting Drifter is Shin Malphur. He is also the guardian who revealed Drifter's identity to Orin and pretty much ruined their relationship at that point. And I believe this is finally our hint, because in the Malfeasance quest, we only heard the last comms that was recorded by the ghost when the golden gun went. And Drifter was livid, hated everything to do with it. He didn't want to talk about it. He left us in that kind of dark space there, and then we then gained Malfeasance, which also makes sense as to why Malfeasance was stolen from Xur, because Shin Malphur may want reason to have anything associated in order to study it. Now, this is of course relation at this point, but an up-and-coming Dredgen making trade with Cabal, and then eventually having them bug Xur for bad juju, Malfeasance, and effigy makes a lot of sense so far. But let's also talk more about that piece. So, obviously, our next enemy, grouping seems to be a sect of the Cabal that have landed on Mars, and based on this, it looks like, if it is Shin Malphur, or just, we'll say this Dredgen in this case, is supporting their effects here to go ahead and evolve their weaponry and evolve their tactics, then this is what we can as the mechanics and what to see on Mars in Renegades. We'll be able to be fighting Cabal, and we'll be able to see what this elemental, cipher is worth. Will it be puzzles? Will it be maybe related to a new power or something similar to Matter Spark, if that kind of makes sense there, that we would have to use on Mars to kind of get through things. Now, of course, who knows? It could be a Star Wars related things in terms of retina scans, or in terms of some of the bracelets and stuff you'd have to use to get in areas. I don't think they'll drop us into Mos Eisley. If they do, that'd be cool. I'd love that. And having that in the desk probably make it in a candy store, looking out for certain things, the bands and whatnot. So we'll kind of, we'll keep that to ourselves close to the chest. That way we can, have that fun when it comes. But the other thing I wanted to touch on with this is the importance of the communication that seems to be happening that this informant doesn't realize. We've just had the story on Kepler. We've just had the adventure. Hopefully, if you're watching this video, you've completed it, so I won't have any spoilers for you. But this is your one warning before I get into this, that this may be spoilers if you haven't finished. So I want to jump back in the lore page where it states that the intercepted comms included references to Xur's dominion and eternity, where he stays. But specifically, that section of the comm gets repeated 9 times. Obviously, we all know with our experience so far, we have now met the 9. Now understand the 9, have our new emissary in Lodi. They are no longer these unknown ghosts in the universe. We have interacted with them, and now we understand that they are all bound to one singular planet within the Sol system, or one singular, celestial body, is the way I'll put it. 9 is the sun. He is, cocky, and, rightfully so, since he keeps, all life progressing in the universe, so he of course has that ego with him. But as we move further from the sun, we just go in order. 1, 2, 3, which is Earth. And that's why the death of 3 is so important to us, because that is the death of our celestial body and our member of the 9. Any interest in keeping Earth or maintaining Earth died with him, and is, as far as we know, that his heart and his being is on the hull that Drifter is carrying around, which also makes sense in this page where they're for Drifter and what he's carrying. But with this being repeated 9 times, I believe that this is 4, because this is Mars reaching out to us saying, hey, I need you to intervene. This is the symbol and the signal to us to go through and intervene on. He is almost essentially calling for help is what I see in this. And what I truly believe is probably going to happen is we are going to interact more with 4 specifically, since we're going to be visiting Mars. That's his planet he is bound to. And we are going to have some sort of impact with this. I believe with this whole bind the 9 that has been presented to us by 3 before his death, and us being the weapon in order to complete this ritual of binding the 9, I truly think what's going to happen is we're going to go to each of these planets and intervene in a way that benefits the members of the 9, whether it's the inner orbit or potentially the outer orbit, as we know at this time, where they're kind of split between, you know, keeping life and not giving a damn about it between the inner and outer orbits. But this way we can do these tasks for them in terms of bribery. For 4, I believe we'll go on to this, and he's tired of this bickering and the cabal that has shown up on his planet that has suddenly caused a lot of activity and a lot of changes happening to the planet. And so I believe, at least, that he's going to ask us to, you know, handle this, get rid of the dredgen, or at least in whatever capacity we do on Mars, you know, actually end this kind of uptick in activity and change. And then in return, he will bind himself to whatever it is that we need. Hopefully we find out more on that. That way we can kind of understand our goal a bit more. Not obviously the true meaning of what happens when we bind them, but more so what binding means. Are they binding to us? Are they binding to each other? Are we binding them to something in particular? That's the biggest missing piece so far. But I hope with that you guys are about as excited as I am, of course, outside of my bias with the Star Wars stuff, because God, I love being able to have Star Wars stuff in Destiny. It's just so much fun. I can't wait to see how the lightsaber works. I'm giddy about it. Okay, everyone will just have to give me that. I love it so much. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video of going through this page. Once again, this As Without book has provided us so much in terms of telling us that Drifter's ghost is in there. They're speaking. It's possibly a her called Blue, which was in my last lore video. So if you haven't seen that, definitely go look at it, where I go over that page. But yeah, it seems like there's still more activity from the people on Earth. They're not happy with Ikora still. They're refusing to kind of adhere to any, you know, orders or changes, and they're making their own. So we're seeing more of that split, but we finally got a huge hint to Renegades coming up here soon. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Don't know if it'll be Destiny related, since I'm taking a little bit of a break. The event might bring me back, but I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.